Reardon. I'm the vicar at Mytholmroyd and Revd. And I've been asked to talk today about the Boxing Day floods and how agony in community relates to what we've been experiencing since then. So my husband and myself moved to Mytholmroyd in 2013, which was a year after the last floods. And we noticed that people got a little bit twitchy when there was rain falling. They would watch through the window with dread, rather than normal dislike that we all do when we look out the window and it rains. Because nobody likes a rainy day. But who's frightened of rainy days? And now we know better. Now we understand. Now we too look at the rain and wonder. Last Christmas began like any other. We have the usual round of children's nativities and Christingle services and a wonderful candlelit carol service on the Sunday before Christmas. The church was packed, around 400 people, and children's choir, even the bishop in attendance. The Christmas services themselves were well attended and filled with joy and love. Then came the Boxing Day floods. I don't need to tell you what it was like. The growing realisation that this was going to be bad, very bad, much worse than 2012. The constantly updated images on social media keeping us glued to our screens as we struggled to grasp the enormity of the disaster. By 9:30, the centre of Mytholmroyd was already flooded, and so the community was split into three, each part having to help as best as they could, the people in their bit. At some point, the wall of a pub car park fell into the river, sending a tidal wave of water into the ground floor flats of Elphaborough Court, leaving many elderly and disabled people trapped in their homes with water rising all around them. One man nearly drowned in his own bed, another in his electric wheelchair. Whole streets were flooded and nearly every business in Mytholmroyd was affected. The community centre, the Scout Hut, Burnley Road Primary lost its entire floor with water. Scout Road Primary was threatened with a landslip. Both schools are now shut. The classes split across various sites. The church and church hall were both flooded with between 2.5 and 3 foot of water. The Catholic Church too, their elderly priest having to be rescued from the water which burst through his door, leaving him up to his armpits in water within moments. Another elderly, confused man rescued from his Land Rover with minutes to spare. So on the Sunday morning, instead of leading the worship in St. Michael's, I set out in my wellies to view the damage to my lovely community. And I can honestly say that there is nothing that prepares you for the sight. No amount of seeing the images on the television can convey the devastation that flooding brings. And this was a community which was prepared. It had flood barriers installed after the last one. All the shops had door panels fitted to prevent flooding and sandbags. They weren't going to get caught out again. But the water had breached all of their careful preparation. All along Burnley Road, shop after shop, business after business were already disgorging their soaking contents. Tables, chairs, carpets piling up on the pavement, together with sad and forlorn Christmas trees and decorations. The owners and staff picking up their drill from the last flood, rubber gloves and bleach and mops and buckets at the ready. And of course, most of them hadn't been able to get insurance after the last flood, and so they were on their own. Except that they weren't. The whole community, every able-bodied person, and those who weren't as well. Neighbours were working together on each other's houses. Strangers were helping strangers. Peoples whose houses were untouched by water were there, ankle deep in filth, cleaning other people's homes. And then there were the others, the ones who came from outside the area, like the group of young Sikh men who came to the village. They'd set off at 4 in the morning from Slough. They'd reached us at 10 o'clock in the morning and started to work straight away. There was a constant stream of people dropping off cleaning items, toiletries, clothing. You name it, people gave it. Then there were the bringers of food and drink, from soups and sandwiches to curry. So much curry. Every day, well into the new year. Everyone was fed and watered, no questions asked, no distinctions made. If you needed food, you were fed. People gave up their precious Christmas holiday, putting the message of Christmas into action, the song of the angels, peace on earth, goodwill to all mankind. We had contractors working in the church who were being fed and watered by volunteers. It wouldn't happen where I live, said one. They're all out for themselves. A sentiment I heard a couple of times from people in other parts of the country. I'm not so sure that they're right. So many people, such kindness, such generosity of spirit. There were tears and laughter, despair and hope. So where are we now? Well, little glimmers of hope. The co-op opens tomorrow. Oh. And a couple of other businesses have opened too, or are well on the way to opening. But many will remain closed. A flood too many for many small retailers who have lost thousands of pounds worth of stock and cannot face the fear of living with the fear that all of their hard work might get washed away yet again. And then there's the mental and emotional effect the floods have had. When everything that you own has been destroyed, what do? Take the people in Elphaba Court that I mentioned earlier. Ground floor flats in 6 foot of water. Elderly people who have lost precious items. Reminders of loved ones long gone. Reminders of happy younger days. The things that no amount of money can ever replace. Then there's the nightmares, reliving the terrors of the day. I was speaking to one of the flood wardens recently. Now, he wasn't flooded at all, but he's been having recurring nightmares because he was on duty. And he met the district nurse who was desperate to get to a patient in need of medication, and a carer trying to get to a bedridden elderly man. And there was no way through the water to get to them, and he was powerless to help. So I fear for the long-term health of the valley, the mental stress that must have an effect on the physical health of our people. I wonder if, for all the love and support that the community and others showed, if the scars of Boxing Day have yet to show themselves. So yes, community. And yes, agony. What have we learned? Possessions are just stuff, we said. At least no one lost their life. But possessions are more than just stuff. They're a part of us. And the losing of a precious, fading old photograph can be more than we can bear. We've learnt that disaster brings out the very best in people, much to the surprise of some of the people who live outside the area. And we've learnt that community is more than just the people who live around you. It's also the people who care, whether they live a mile away or 100 miles away, regardless of faith, nationality or culture. A person who shows loving concern is part of your community. And so thank you for inviting me to speak today. And thank you for the concern you have shown for us and continue to show.